Welcome to the Excelsior Health Podcast. This is the podcast for busy professionals and busy parents that are battling weight gain, high stress, and a drop of self-confidence. And what we do, guys, we take the complicated aspects of health and fitness and we break it down into simple, understandable tactics so that way you can transform your health and rebuild your lifestyle. I'm your host, Coach Cory Fernandez, and today we are going to be diving into mindset, and specifically, it's the philosophies to build a resilient mindset. So I'm going to share with you guys some philosophies that have made just a big impact in how I view the world and how I just look at problems, right? And I guess what I want to start off with is making you guys understand what the whole purpose of this podcast is. It's us sharing what we believe is the 5 key areas that people have to change or improve in order to continue to transform their health. So this podcast is called the Excelsior Health Podcast. And Excelsior to me, it's about chasing excellence. It's about establishing a higher standard in your life. And one way I like explaining that is you don't get your goals, you basically get your standards. So goals are things that, they give us direction in our life. They're these accolades, there are these milestones that we go out and chase. And a lot of times you don't achieve your goals, but what you always achieve is you get your standards. So if your standard is working out twice a week, that's oftentimes what the result is going to be. Many times people have the goal of getting to the gym 4 times a week, but their standard is what they actually do. So when you have higher standards in these certain categories, you're then going to get different results. So the 5 key areas that we're trying to improve your standards for someone who's tuning into this podcast. Hey, number 1, it's your training and movement. Are you someone who's working out 3 to 4 days a week? Are you someone who is, walking more on a regular basis? Are you addressing your mobility? Are you evaluating your performance? Those are things that we talk about here. Number 2 is nutrition habits. Right? In order to lose body fat, improve your energy, guess what? You got to be able to identify what is healthy options. You got to be able to track your macros and habits. You have a little bit of an understanding of what are supplements that are going to support you on your journey. Number 3 is rest and recovery, right? It's your sleeping habits. It's physical therapy. It's how you can incorporate more fun and self-care. It's meditation. Number 5 is positive environment. So when it comes to positive environment, we're often looking at who are the mentors and coaches in your life? What are the routines and rituals that you are shaping in your morning, in your work, in your end of days? It's how do you spend time in nature? It's the relationships, whether it's family, coworkers, your inner circle. But today, what we're going to focus on is number 4, is developing a resilient mindset. It's how do you deal with adversity? How do you deal with stress? What do you do when it comes to crafting your vision? Are you someone who's learning? Are you practicing gratitude? What are your core values? That's a lot of what this category is about. So today, I'm not going to have a super long episode, but what this is about is some key philosophies that I think if you're trying to do anything big in your life, whether that's transforming your health, taking your business to the next level, getting a promotion in your career, showing up as a better father or parent or mother, or just maybe being a better leader, these are some philosophies that I know have helped me in those areas, but I know they're going to help you too. All right. So this first one is a philosophy within a philosophy, but basically it's a quote from Robin Sharma, who's someone who I love his books. He's someone who's helped shape my mindset, but it's methodology without philosophy is an empty sport. So what this means is, on this podcast, I can give you all these tactics about how to track your calories, how to lift heavier, on how to evaluate certain relationships. But if you have the methodology, but you don't understand the why, meaning you don't understand the philosophy behind it, the likelihood that you do it consistently or you do it for a long enough time, it's not going to happen. So that's what today is about, is really understanding a philosophy and living by that philosophy. Most people, when they're starting their journey, they want the method. They're like, hey, what's the workout that I'm going to do? What's like the tactic that I'm going to do? You have to understand the philosophy over top. Then the methodology tends to be executed at a higher level. All right. So I think I got 5 or 6 for you guys today. On the wall, I don't even know if you can see it behind me, but in our facility, this is probably one of the first philosophies that our clients start to learn. And I think this is a very common success principle that a lot of people hear, but it's getting comfortable being uncomfortable, right? So what I want you to understand is growth and success, transformation, progress, that never happens when you're in a comfortable state. You have to be pushed in an uncomfortable point in your life. So one way that I want to express this is easy choices tend to lead to a hard life. Hard choices lead to an easy life. So what I mean is an easy, comfortable choice that we have every day is sitting on the couch and watching TV. It's comfortable. It feels good, man. Like just letting my brain disconnect and just watching a show. It's nice. But if you do that too much, again, it's going to have hard implications. And for a lot of people, what that means is, hey, you're not moving. You're not exercising. You're not working out. You're not learning. So that's another aspect of it. Where on the other side, a hard choice is waking up in the morning before you have to go to your job or run your business or deal with your kids and do the extracurriculars. A hard choice is waking up and going for your workout, going for your walk. That is a hard choice. But on the other side, it leads to an easier life because, again, you're more physically fit. You're taking care of your heart, your lungs. You're probably going to make better choices. But that's a huge philosophy that I stand by that goes along with this concept of getting comfortable being uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable making this hard choice to eat healthier. It's uncomfortable going to bed on time. It's uncomfortable learning how to do strength training. It's uncomfortable cracking open a book and being disciplined to read 5 to 10 pages each night. And it's hard in the moment, but over the course of your life, it's going to lead to such an easier life. Where most people, what makes their life so hard is they're overweight. They got mental health challenges that they're going through. They got toxic relationships in their life. And it's usually a result of they've been making such easy choices and being comfortable for such long periods of time that now they're paying the consequence for it. Another expression that I like to use is hug your monsters, right? Like that's what getting comfortable being uncomfortable means. It means the things that you're kind of intimidated, the things that you're scared of, it's confronting those things. So going back to health, for a lot of people, working out is scary. It's just something that makes them like, ugh. But the more you get comfortable with working out, the more it becomes this amazing aspect of your life. It could become this social aspect where you meet amazing people. It could be this thing that now your body actually starts to transform and you're building the body that you want. Now you're less injured. You're living with less pain. But this is an important philosophy that so many people need to live by is, yeah, this thing is hard. It's a little bit uncomfortable, but I must get comfortable. I must get used to this. And the last point that I'll say is, if we look at stress, there's chronic stress and there's acute stress. What an example of getting comfortable being uncomfortable is, yeah, we should look for acute stress. So when I do a workout, yeah, this is a short period of time that I'm going to be like under stress or uncomfortable. If I go for a run, or if I go for a walk outside, if I'm doing work that is expanding my mind, it's like, this concept. These are acute things that are uncomfortable. Chronic stress is what most people deal with, and it's what you don't want. That's when it could become a negative thing. And this is long periods of time where you're very uncomfortable. That's for a lot of people is like, man, you're dealing with a lot of financial stress for long periods of times. You're dealing with things like obesity, diabetes, heart disease, constant inflammation and aches and pains. That's the things that we want to avoid. So my first kind of philosophy that I want everybody to kind of understand, if I'm going to be successful, I'm going to make a transformation in my life, you know what? I got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I got to do hard things in the moment so that way I could live an easier life and I could lead to growth and success in my life. So that's number one. Number two, excellence is exhausting. So where I heard this phrase, I got this from Andy Frisella. I look at him as a mentor in my life. I joined one of his groups, his entrepreneur group. It's called Arete. And Arete means excellence. And one of my favorite words is Excelsior, which I got again from one of my mentors, Martin Rooney. But we were sitting on a call, and it's like a call that we have 3 times every month. And he was just talking about like, hey, if you're going to be a successful entrepreneur or just going to be successful in your life, you have to expect things are going to be hard. And you have to expect if you're chasing excellence and greatness, it's going to be exhausting. It's a requirement. It's normal. So I've taken that mindset as an entrepreneur, and I've often said this to my clients is like, yes, guys, being a busy parent, being a busy professional, being healthy, being a loving spouse, being a great dad, being a great friend, guys, it's exhausting. It takes a lot out of you. But my question that I always propose is, what type of exhaustion would you want? It's being exhausted in just really maximizing your day and doing all these things, or it's being exhausted and being tired from procrastination. Because we all know the feeling of coming home after a long day and you just busted your ass at work, but you killed that presentation. You killed that deadline. You had the great business meeting, or you did what you needed to do as a parent. Like you were so tired from all the things, but your kid came back and they're like, Dad, Mom, I got an A on the test, or I scored the goal. And it's like all those practices you put with your kid, it was exhausting, but you see the result. Where on the other side, there's the procrastination when you know you're supposed to do something, and all year you're on your phone, you're looking at that gym you were supposed to sign up to, but you don't do it. You're looking at, the garage that you're supposed to clean out, the renovations that you're supposed to do, but you keep procrastinating it. It makes you exhausted just thinking about it. So guys, you got a choice, man, is you could be exhausted in your accomplishments and the actions that you're taking, or you could be exhausted in thinking about it, in the pain that comes from every day you wake up and you're like, man, it's another day I haven't done what I said I was going to do. So I just think reframing it, where sometimes when people are chasing the thing that they want, they're like, man, is this supposed to feel this hard? Am I supposed to feel tired? I feel tired, man. Like they told me when I work out, I'm going to have more energy. If you just change the expectation and realize that, yes, you know what? All those other successful people that you admire, all those healthy people you admire, yeah, they're exhausted too, man. But they're exhausted because they're taking action versus being exhausted from a lack of action. So I always remind my coaches, and I remind my family is like, yeah, guys, excellence is supposed to be exhausting. That's how it is. But this leads to my next point is productive exhaustion requires scheduled renewal. So this is another one I got from, I think, Robin Sharma's book, 8 Forms of Wealth. And it just basically means that if you're going to be a high achiever and you're working really hard in your career, or you're working really hard in your fitness journey, it's really important to have scheduled recovery. And what that quote is saying is requires scheduled renewal. This could be in different ways, right? So this can be in the way of, hey, are you getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep? That's one small way. It could be like, hey, do you have date night every week or bi-weekly that That scheduled renewal is that time with your spouse where you guys are intimate, you're loving, you're affectionate. That recharges you from going through all the hard stuff you're doing. Is it a boys' weekend once a quarter where you and your boys, you guys just have a weekend where you guys are, having a couple of beers, you're watching sports, you're playing sports, you're going fishing? Or is it you having solitude and just by yourself, stillness, where you have one day where you're away from your family, you're away from your job, and you're just like having time to think and reflect? For somebody else, it might be time in nature, where when you go in nature and you're hiking or you're on the water or you're in the fresh air and you got the sun kissing your skin, this is where you start to think differently. You start to be recharged and that energy comes back. For me, one of the things that I love to do is I love to travel. And when I get to go in different parts of the world, like just being on a plane, my mind starts to go and like look at life differently. When I'm exposed to different cultures and I'm seeing different, aspects instead of the big city, and I'm just seeing the same, condos and same apartments and same area. When I go and travel and I see different things, it just makes my mind look at the world differently and my creative juices start to go. And also from an energy standpoint, now I'm rejuvenated that now I could go back to work. I can go back to everyday life and I could go back to grind. I could go back and work harder in my career. I could go back to being the dad. I could go back to being the husband, the spouse. That's what this quote means. And that's what this philosophy is like, man, productive exhaustion, working your ass off, that's a requirement of being successful and in transformation. But you got to make sure you have these moments where that scheduled renewal happens. So for some of us, you might need to do that on a weekly basis. Some of us, you might need to do that on a quarterly basis, but it's knowing what are those things that recharge me up so I can get back to the grind of being excellent and chasing results. Now, next one. Confidence comes from keeping the promises you make to yourself. I believe the first time I heard this was from Ed Milet. I don't know if Ed Milet created it, but he's super smart and he says a lot of things that I write down. And that's one that I often will tell my clients, because a lot of people come here, they want to lose fat, they want to build muscle, but it's all an extension of like, I want to just be more confident with the person I see in the mirror. So the way you become more confident, it's keeping your agreements. It's becoming someone who I said I was going to do that, and then I went and did that. That's the cool thing about goals, right? Like when you set goals, really what you're doing is every time you knock down a goal, it's funny. Like a lot of times, you get to a milestone with your body fat percentage. You hit a certain amount of push-ups. You hit a certain amount of thing on the bar. It's cool in the moment, but then you're like, all right, what's the next thing I'm going to do now? Like it just passes by. There's just a next thing you get to. But really what it does, it just reinforces with your identity that I said I was going to do that. I did it. So anytime you do that, you're building trust with yourself. You're becoming someone that you trust yourself. Is when you believe that there's a deadline, there's something that needs to be done, you become someone who can do that. So for you, if you're someone who's struggling with confidence, you got to break it down to on a small scale, is make things doable, where it's like, okay, I said I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow, just go to the gym. Even if you had a shitty workout, you went to the gym, you started to build trust. If you say you're going to wake up at 7 a.m., don't hit snooze and wake up at 7:15, because you're now starting to break that trust for yourself, right? If you said, you know what, I'm going to do 10 reps of this exercise, you do 10 reps instead of 7 because no one's not watching you. If you told your friend that like, hey man, I'll be there to help you move, it's being the person who shows up and keeping their word. So that is a huge thing that has always stuck to me. If I want to be more confident, if I want to have more belief and more success, I have to keep my commitments to myself. And that's how trust and confidence grows. Next one, clarity precedes execution, and repetition is the mother of skill. Those are things, I think repetition is the mother of skill. Where I first heard that is from my mentor, Martin Rooney. It's just this concept of like, man, if you want to be good at something, you're not just naturally going to be good at something. Most people are not naturally having some proclivity to just be good at something. You see it and it looks like they're just naturally good. But a lot of the time, what it is these people, they just put the reps in. They took the messy action. And another quote that I guess goes along with that is like, change is hard in the beginning. It's messy in the middle, but it's beautiful at the end. All right. And that's a lot of time what a skill looks like. When you start tracking your food, it's hard, man. It sucks. You're making mistakes. You got to use an app where you got to measure your food. You got to write in your jog, in your log. And then in the beginning, yeah, it is messy. You think you're doing it right, but you're really not. But then it's trial and error. And then when it's beautiful at the end, that's when it becomes a skill. And whether this is true or not, there's a lot of evidence that shows that, you know what, a skill, it happens like 10,000 hours of intentional practice. But for most people, you don't need to spend 10,000 hours. If you're just doing something 3 hours a week compared to everybody else, you're going to be advanced. You're going to be more experienced than that person. So right now, just understand, if you suck at something, or if you think you're average at something and you really want to get better, the way that you make it a skill, it's repetition. So everybody who you look at who's strong in fitness, there was once a time where they sucked. If I go look at back in years of my squat form wasn't good. My deadlift wasn't good. My push-up form wasn't good, but it's because I've done it so many times that now it is good. And now it has become a skill for me. All right. The same with public speaking. I remember in grade 1, I used to have a strong lisp where my tongue would come out a lot of times when I'm saying certain things. It still happens to today. And my teacher, she was just being a good teacher trying to help me. She made me stay in a recess and practice my S's and all my pronunciation. And I was so pissed because I wanted to go play soccer. I wanted to go play basketball. Recess was like the thing I went to school for. But I remember like those repetitions gave me a little bit more confidence. And it was always something in my head where I would speak that whether it was a presentation or class, talking out loud, it was in the back of my mind. But the more I confronted the fear and I worked on speaking, the better I got at it. Where today, a lot of people will come up to me and they'll say, hey, coach, man, like you're just a natural at speaking. And I'm like, thank you. But I'm also like, nah, man, like I put years into this shit. There's so many times where I was doing messages of the day and I had to prepare and I made mistakes. There's so many times where I had to do a presentation in front of people. I spent hours practicing and rehearsing as if people were there where nobody was there. But those are the repetitions that lead to the skill. And then before that, you know, and I'll repeat it, clarity precedes execution. So what that means is before you can, you know, take the reps, you have to understand where you're going. You have to understand what you're doing. So even when it comes to this program, when we're coaching people on fitness, you have to know what the goal is. You have to understand, hey, what are the key things that if I do these things, they're actually going to lead to a result. So you can't just take action before going and understanding where you want to go. It's like getting into a car, or it's like jumping on a plane and just saying, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm just going to end up in the destination. No, you have to have clarity. And to kind of piggyback off of clarity, one other quote that I love is, your obsessions eventually will become your possessions. When I started to realize that, I'm like, wow, is that basically means it's like the things that I think about on a regular basis, they're going to become a reality in my life. The things I talk about, this is the big thing. Because there's things that you think about, but then you got to remember, like when you just talk to people, oh, yeah, I can't do that. Like if you're always talking about being broke, or if you're always talking about being fat, you're gonna be that. But if you're talking about things in a different light, where it's like, yeah, you know, eventually I'm gonna be 150 pounds. Hey, I'm working on improving my health. It's like the language you talk about, it's gonna materialize into you acting on those things. So think about that quote, right? Obsessions become your possessions. what are you focusing on a regular basis? Are you focusing on not getting hurt? Or are you focusing on how can I become stronger and lift with better form? Two different people. One of them is obsessed about the positive aspect. The other one is focused on like how things can go wrong. Right. And again, another quote, like I'm just giving you guys these philosophies, is your energy, like the energy goes to where you focus on. I believe the quote that I'm trying to say is energy goes to where the focus flows. It's probably not that, but I think you guys get my point, is where you're putting your thoughts, your vocabulary, your action, those are where the results are going to come. All right. So hitting home with that point is clarity is only going to come from knowing what you want. And then when you're focusing on it, what I recommend is, hey, how often do you write down your goals? Is it once a year? You know, usually during New Year's. Is it when you have a big birthday milestone? Maybe you turn 40 or you turn 30. Those are times. But what successful people do, and like people that really transform their health or they upgrade their careers, is they increase the amount of time that they visit their goals and their obsessions. So what I would say is like, hey, every quarter, are you evaluating what you're focused on? Every month, are you looking at what you're focused on? But here's another thing. Every day, can you look and see, hey, my goal, man, is in 13 months, I'm going to do this. Hey, my career path, I'm going to do that. It's like writing it down. It's the more you focus on it, the more the obsession is, the more it becomes your possession. And then it goes back to, can I take action on those things? All right, so next one, and it's the last one I have for today, guys. There's tons that a lot of the times that's where it starts. It starts on a philosophy, and then you work your way down to the methodology. But my last one is a big thing that we say in this program is every setback is an opportunity for a comeback. And this is another one that I've gone through this training for warrior system. It's the first time that I heard it. And it really changed my life because I was at a point where like, I was at rock bottom. That was my setbacks. Is I was on a path to becoming a professional athlete. That was out the door when I realized, hey, I'm not going to make it professionally playing football. Then it was like, okay, I'm going to become a teacher. This is what I went to school for. Nope. No Duff and Peel, this organization, they don't want me. And then I was sitting there like, man, like, okay, let me open up a gym. And then when I was going to open up a gym with a partner, they backed out. They didn't want to do it. And as I was going through this course, I started hearing these philosophies. Hey, man, turn setbacks into comebacks. So what it is, it's a lens of how you look at life. A lot of people look at obstacles, and then it becomes the reason, or the excuse, I should say, why they can't be successful. And it becomes the filter how they look at life. Where successful people that overcome adversity, they look at obstacles as opportunities. And it's like, it's gifts. Like, man, this unfortunate situation happened to me because I needed to go through this. I needed to learn this lesson. This is going to be a part of my success story. This is going to be a chapter in my story that I could then tell my kids. I could then pass this knowledge on to other people. And that's what that phrase comes from, is every setback is the opportunity for a greater comeback. And a lot of people, when it comes to fitness, they look at setbacks and they think that's the story. Well, I tried before. Who cares? Some of the most accomplished people that we celebrate, like someone who I know we've told a lot of stories on, Sylvester Stallone. There's like stories of this guy that he had like thousands of interviews that he got rejected on. And then he finally wrote Rocky, sold it to a bunch of people that said, no, no, no. And look at that franchise. The story goes on. KFC, Colonel Sanders. This guy had tons of failures. At 60-something years old is where his recipe took off, right? So the point is most of what our results are going to come from is they're going to come from our losses. They're going to come from the obstacles, the adversity that we face. But if you just look at life through that lens and say, you know what, every time I go through an obstacle, this is an opportunity for me to come back even better. All right. So, hey, these are some of the philosophies to help build a resilient mindset. A lot of what we're going to talk about on the podcast is, man, how can you build a resilient mindset? And that's a lot of what we coach at Training for Warriors, because you can understand that working out is important. You can understand that eating healthy is important, getting sleep. If you don't have the deep belief and the philosophies to back that up, you're not going to do the methods. So that's the first place you got to start in your journey, is start to change the way you think, starts the way you change the way you talk, and then that's going to help change the way you act. All right. Hopefully this podcast was helpful, guys. Again, make sure you guys like, follow, share. This allows us to get more people on here that can help, shape your guys' mindset, but also give you guys the tool to be successful when it comes to your health. And it also lets me know that, hey, we're doing a good job. All right. So I'm Coach Cory, Training for Warrior Saga, Excelsior Health Podcast, Beasted.